Incredibly, more than 12 hours since Leicester scored any goal in the Premier League, and they haven't scored at home this year. Not since drawing 2-2 with Brighton in December. By the way, all credit to Newcastle, who are in pole position for a Champions League spot after that. But add all the Leicester stats together, they've become the first side in Football League history to lose 8 successive home games without scoring. They're heading back to the Championship. Their boss, Ruud van Nistelrooy, was asked afterwards what the future looks like.
Yeah, the most important is the club and the team, of course. And I'm somebody who's a guest at this club and taking all the responsibility to do the best for the club. In the end, the club is first and the players, and that's the most important thing to consider.
Do you want to stay here and try and rebuild it?
No, it's for me now. It's a difficult moment, to speak about the future. It's about today for me, and the future. Let's think about that later.
Yeah, to me, when I heard him say, "Gab, you have to look at what's best for the club," that tells me that Ruud van Nistelrooy isn't going to be the manager very much longer. Maybe not even by the end of the day.
No, he's definitely lost the changing room, Jeff, and I think that probably happened a couple of months ago. You can tell when you're hearing stories about Harry Winks, he's not going to be involved because he hasn't agreed to staying over in Leicester maybe 1 or 2 nights a week. And it's like, come on, these petty things should have been sorted when you first come into the club. This shouldn't be ongoing now about players commuting. You're second bottom in the Premier League. You're guaranteed to get relegated. That shouldn't be on your mind. But you look at his reign, Jeff. Van Nistelrooy, 18 games, 2 wins, 1 draw, 15 losses, 9 goals scored, 43 goals conceded. It's horrendous. And for me, I was doing some work yesterday, and I could probably put him down, Jeff, as the flop of the season. That's how bad he's done. I know he hasn't had the money to spend, but
he's got some competition there with Ivan Juric.
Oh yes, yes, both of them. But I felt the buzz when Van Nistelrooy got the job. You're like, all right, then, he done okay at PSV. Manchester United was nothing special, but all right, he's going to give them a lift. He's made them worse.
Yeah, I feel some sympathy for him, to be honest, though, Gabs, because when you look at the transfer window in January, Leicester did nothing. They did nothing. They knew they were in trouble. Could they have survived with Steve Cooper if they'd given him longer?
I think so. I think sometimes these owners, Jeff, they make a hasty decision where, let's go for that big name, Van Nistelrooy. He could change our season, when Cooper probably would have grafted his way through the season, and maybe now there might have been 6-7 points off it, but still within a chance.
Yeah.
So I think they made a mistake. And yes, I get it with players. You don't bring in the players that you want. But what style of play do Leicester play? You watch them. They roll over. They've got no way of playing. I mean, yesterday he's playing Daka with Vardy and it's not working. You're making a sub at half time. It just looks like he's trying everything and it's not working. And It doesn't help when you've probably got one of the worst defenders, Jeff, I've seen in the Premier League this season, Fass. I don't know how he plays for his national team, Belgium, because every time I watch him, it's calamitous defending. Even yesterday, I think it was one of the counter-attacks, maybe for the Barnes goal, and Joe Linton just chops him off his left foot into his right foot, gets a shot off, and Barnes taps it in. But it's just, every time I watch him, Jeff, it's so easy. He's not physical, he's not good in the air, he's not great on the ball, he's not quick. Then you've got Connor Cody, who's been a great servant to football at Wolves, but he's not at the level, I don't think, for Premier League.
James Justin, who's had this was an England international.
Yes.
And he's just had a shocker of a season.
Yesterday, Jeff, honestly, every player, I'm watching them like, these players look like, a lot of them have down tools. They know they're down. The manager's lost the players. And maybe it's time to bring in a new manager looking towards next season.
Well, from Van Nistelrooy's personal point of view, with Leicester going down, what is the point of him carrying on? Because all he's going to do is give him, is further damage his reputation, isn't he?
Yeah, and also damage his reputation, but does he deserve to stay on? If I'm Leicester now, I'm saying, all right then, let's look towards next season now. We're going to finish on a high. What players out of these players we've got are with us next season? Let's start playing them. If you bring in some of the young players that might be playing next season, let's give them some game time, because these senior pros, they're not doing it, Jeff.
Yeah.
They're really not doing it in that team.
Danny Murphy was on commentary duty for talkSPORT at the King Power last night. He put Leicester's awful performance down to the boss.
I'm sure he's been trying to coach, so not a lack of coaching, but a lack of coaching experience and nous. I mean, I think when a team's struggling, in my experience, you've got to be hard to beat. You've got to be resilient. You've got to keep yourself in games and build your way into games. But they started the game. Yes, there's a lack of confidence to give away some balls, but they're wide open. The formation was imbalanced. It was a bizarre one. The ease which Newcastle got out on that left-hand side in that first half, bizarre. I couldn't understand what they were trying to do.
No, and I get what Danny means as well. And look, everybody can pick a team, a different team. Of course we can. You know, you mentioned the Harry Winks stuff. I mean, I looked at their bench yesterday. You know, Steffi Mavadidi, who was fantastic in the Championship. You know, surely if you're going to have a go at a side, you want him in your starting lineup. Bobby De Cordova-Reid, who's got so much Premier League experience. Jordan Ayew, so much Premier League experience. Facundo Buonanotte can open up defences. You know, and yet they all sit on the substitutes bench, and I didn't get it, you know.
It's very odd as well when Ayew and Buonanotte, your second top goal scorers, both got 4 goals. Why are they on the bench? I think he's probably falling out with players, Jeff, every week. And like Danny Murphy says there, Jeff, if you're struggling at the bottom of the league and you're playing a Newcastle team who are flying at home, what do? How would you set your team up?
Yeah.
Hard. What do you do hard to beat? 4-5-1 or 5 at the back? You would. Hard to beat. What did Leicester do? Concede after 2 minutes. And you're just like, what's the point?
Well, you know, it was game over after 11 minutes, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Game over after 11 minutes. Leicester fans, let's hear from you this morning. 9 years ago, you were lifting the Premier League trophy. You've won the FA Cup since then, haven't you? Now you're the first team in English Football League history to lose 8 successive games without scoring. What's gone wrong? 03717 223344. Do let us go. Lucas said, morning, Jeff and Gabby. The only one I feel for at Leicester is the goalkeeper, Hermanson. If it wasn't for him, they would be nearer Southampton. And in fairness, of course, he was injured, wasn't he? And lost his place for a little while to Jakub Stolarczyk, who did okay as well. Flop of the season, only one contender, according to Smudger. And it's not Juric and it's not Van Nistelrooy. It is Floppategi, as they called him at West Ham. Floppategi. I'm not sure that his reign goes down as quite as bad as poor old Ruud Van Nistelrooy's or Ivan Juric. You're not surprised by Juric's sacking, I guess.
No, and I've been listening to the shows, Jeff, and everyone's just in agreement. Look at Tyler Dibbling, biggest prospect, and you're like, since that manager's come in, Juric, you don't really see him with the confidence and the smile on his face when he's playing. Sometimes these owners, Jeff, make mistakes. Happened at Aston Villa. We were struggling in the Premier League. They go and get Remy Gardy in. He made a mistake because we had loads of French players. Didn't work. The French players couldn't stand him. So I think they made a mistake. If you're going to sack Russell Martin, try and bring in a manager who's got a certain style of play. He's just been negative all the way through, and I bet he couldn't wait. I bet he didn't even empty his apartment, Jeff, to get out of Southampton.
It was a catastrophic appointment.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.